Hi, good morning. And I've been asked on more than one occasion how I go about basing my figures. So as promised, a small tutorial. And it's a method of basing which I've used for countless years. One or two variations along the way, the main one being the use of 2mm MDF rather than thick card, and the use of acrylic paints rather than enamels. So apart from that, I've used this method since, I don't know, the early 80s, I suppose. The unit I'm going to be painting up or basing up is going to be the dismounted cavalry I've been painting recently, and these are troops by Perry. And I'm using bases with a frontage of 40mm and a depth of 45, and there's going to be 6 bases, 3 figures to a base. And the reason behind that is that I want these figures to represent a looser formation, which the cavalry invariably operated in. So 240mm across, 45 deep. The bases will have the unit will have a command base consisting of this chap here. I haven't yet furled the standard because they're just drying off. Bugler, because they're in roughly the same standing pose. The officer does look a bit dynamic for that little set there. I might use him. There's quite a good corporal, that one there, which might look the part. Let's have a look. Him there? No, I don't think so. If I change that guy to that side, once it's furled, it won't look too bad. Something like that, maybe. Let's just line it up a bit. Well, that's a start. And what I normally do is use one up front. He's waving his arm around, so I might put him at the back actually. Him running forward. Maybe a kneeling chap there. So if there's one at the back, I'll then put 2 at the front. This set with the sack coats only contains one standing firing figure, which is, I would have thought, was unusual. This guy here can be reloading, but he looks a bit like that one there. So I might move that one to the back. And that one there reloading. This one here will be, he's a sergeant shouting, so I might put him there. If he's running forward shouting, let's have another chap running slightly ahead of him with possibly that back there. Let me get in there. And 2 more. I just realised I forgot to mention this guy here is an officer kneeling down and set of binoculars, so if that would look a bit more static there. Yes, I might use that. So this officer, this guy here, now needs a running person next to him. There. More static at the back. Last one will be shooting, standing loading at the back or priming, running forward with his hand in his cartridge belt, his cartridge box, sorry. Now, how does that look? Doesn't look too bad, so I'll probably move him around a little bit. The bases of the figures are painted with Vallejo chocolate brown, and once the filler, which I'll put on the bases, has dried, the first coat will be chocolate brown, so that saves you going around in between the feet and the boots, because that can always lead to overpainting, splashing on the boots, and invariably I'll go back once the bases, the paint job on the bases has dried, just to touch up boots and feet. You can't help but make a few mistakes along the way. So that should be okay for that one. Although I use this Vallejo brown for the figure bases, when it comes to painting the bases themselves, I use Bitter Chocolate from Homebase, and that's a matte emulsion tester, and that's worth its weight in gold. It's the amount of these bottles I used to get through until I walked past this one day. I think it was Liberator 240 told me about this. Excellent. Right, so what I'll do now is I'll glue the figures to the base after checking this flag out, and then yes, I'll make in a second video then and try and put them together along the way. That's what I'll do. Right, so the figures are now glued onto their bases, and next phase I'll take a spray cap. You'll need some all-purpose filler, some Kiddies PVA glue, your bit of chocolate, and a bit of black. Now the filler, you never need as much as you think you're going to need. So what I'll do, I'll take a blob of that, a little bit more possibly, like that. Never tell the wife where her knives have gone. And into the filler, we'll put the, I should have done it off camera. I add paint now because it's if the base does chip at all, you won't see it, hopefully. That's that. Put it there. Lid back on. Wipe hands. And because you're adding to white filler, the bitter chocolate won't be as dark as required. So I normally just add a drop of black or two. Hopefully that'll be okay. And I always add a bit of PVA because the paint will affect the rigidity, I think that's the word, of the filler. Weaken it, in other words. And mix that together. See what you come up with. And I find that if you dilute, say, the filler, it has a tendency to drop when it's on the bases. I don't like seeing the figures' bases once the basing's complete. When people will block or just flock straight over a plain base, it's and you can see the raised figure stands. It's a bit unappealing. Right, so that's it. Now, many years ago, I bought this from Games Workshop, or Warhammer as it is now, and seems to do the trick. Do a little bit of that. Make sure my hands are clean. Working from the centre outwards. Trouble is, I'm working around the camera. My eyes aren't as good as they once were. This is quite a nice job, this one. It's when you have mass ranks on a base, it can be a bit awkward. Especially when I was doing the pike blocks for my 15mm Macedonians. I still use the same method, even in 15mm, it works okay. Just gone over his boot there. As I said previously, that I do go back to the figures once the basing is completed and fix any mistakes. I used this same method when I was basing up my Dervish 15mm force. Obviously the colour was different. I added more of a yellowy mix because they were desert based. It was the same method. I used to, or went through a phase of adding a bit of sand, but you don't really need to do that to the mix. I don't think you can get more basic basing than this, but it works. Just wipe that down, wipe that down. Wipe that down. And that's it, okay? That's all we need to do. I will let that dry for, well, at least a day. I'll probably paint the next phase or do the painting phase tomorrow. So I'll now complete the rest of these and those, and we'll get back to you. Right, so next up is the painting of the bases, and this is the bitter chocolate from Home Base. I've given the filler now a chance to dry overnight, and I'm just going to use a number 2 size brush and paint over the filler. The paint's darker than the filler because the filler obviously was white, and although I mixed the bits of chocolate in there, it has come out lighter, but it's a lot easier to paint over than a white filler. Being a bit careful around the boots, but as I said, we'll come back to those if we make a faux pas. Seems a long time ago since I painted the Airfix soft plastics and put them on cut up cornflake packets. Right. Make sure your fingers are clean. What I forgot to say is I'll run my finger along the side of the bases just to make sure that they're clear of any filler, because you want the stands butting up nicely to each other. And then I'll paint the sides. And adding the brown paint to the filler certainly does save a lot of time, because invariably you'd get little bits of white showing through, which is no good. Just want to get in there. Right, so that's that one there. And one more. And also what I forgot to say was if you want to add any rocks and pebbles and stuff like that, bits of cork to the base, I normally add that just as the filler's drying, and I'll pop it on with a bit of PVA. I should have shown you how to do, well, not shown you how to do it, it's fairly straightforward, but yes, that was the phase of doing that sort of thing. I have a sort of, not a love-hate relationship with basing. It's a bit dull, but it needs to be done. And as I've always said, and as have others, that it's wargame units all about faces, bases, and flags. Just brighten up a little bit. Alright, get in there. Down the edges. And I'll let this dry for probably 6 hours or so, because I'll be dry brushing and you don't want this base coat to interfere with that. Okay, so that goes there. Move those out of the way and move that around there. And that's how I get it on at the moment. So yes, once it's dry, I'll get back to the dry brushing, or get onto the dry brushing. Alright, so next up is the dry brushing of the bases. And the first colour I'm putting down dry brushing wise is yellowish rust, or what you can use, or what I do use, which is very similar, is light brown. So make sure your brush is nice and dry. Now I'll set that on there. And what I normally do is put that there. I've got an old foundry, one of them things, and I just knock it out in there. Brush needs to be as dry as possible, otherwise it has a tendency to smear, which hopefully I won't do on camera. Alright, so where are we? We're about there, aren't we? That's my marker. Put that there. And hopefully the filler's just got a bit of texture. And again, just take your time. And what I'll do it in 2 phases. So once that's dried, which will only be a couple of minutes, we'll go over it again. So that's that one. Start from the middle as normal, work outwards. I suppose with basing, the good thing about basing is that, I might have said this before, but when you're doing it, you know you're coming to the end of the unit, and you can start thinking about other things. I've got some more Union artillery to complete, and but my thoughts are heading back to the Vietnam project. I've got to start expanding that a little bit. But and having said that, I suppose when I start the Americans in Vietnam, I'll have to slightly change the basing, causing the earth more of a red tone over there. So, give me something to think about. Back on this one. That'll do. Next it is dark sand. Make sure that's well mixed. Oh no, hopefully it hasn't run out. Oh, that's okay. Always start at the back, just in case mistakes are made. And if you do smear the dry brushing, when you come to flocking the base, it's covered up, so it's not hugely disappointing. And when I paint or base my Macedonians and ancient Indians, I'll give a further dry brush of ivory just over the tops of the texture. Right, we're getting there. Again, starting at the back. Now what we do after that is we get, what I'm using today is red tail light. You can use this, you can use mahogany brown, as long as it's all the same colour throughout the project, it doesn't really matter. What we're doing in this colour is we're just going to go around the edges of the bases, which I do like the effect. What brush should we use? That one, I think. And I've said before, when you go around the edges of the bases, it looks as if you're framing the base, and it just smartens everything up. There's nothing worse than seeing scruffy edges. Where are we? There are we? And for that I use the side of the brush. A bit dry. To me, scruffy edges, it's like standards or flags, or you can see the white paper around the edges. Last one. There we go. And once that's done, we'll then get onto the flocking, and that will be in a couple of stages as well. I had a phase of writing down the dates on the bottom of the bases, just to say when I finish it, put which unit it is and the date of completion. But I seem to have got out of the habit of that, and it's something that's quite nice to look back when you're going through your boxes. And if I, for example, I was playing or painting up a unit for in the Grand Manor, it's at this point I would write down just a number on the base, so we can use obviously that I don't know if you played that before, but use a roster sheet to track casualties. So it's just nice to know you can identify the units. In Black Panther you don't need to do that so much. Okay, so that's that phase. I'll let that dry off. You need to let the base edges dry off completely, otherwise when you come to flocking you don't want anything sticking to it. So I'll dry brush the remaining bases, and right, so the paint's dried on the bases, and now we're putting on the first of the flocking. And what I've got here is some cheap PVA. You need that. Need a moderately healthy looking brush. I'm not too sure what number that is, probably about 2 or 3. And in my plastic box here I've got various amounts of different scatter. I've added to it over the years, so I'm not too sure what the original looked like. I've taken out the larger of the stones because I'm not too keen on those on the base. You can see a few at the top there. If they end up on the base, I'll just take them off with a pair of tweezers. But that's what I've been dipping the bases into, like a mid-green, I suppose. Right, so I tend to think of this as the way I used to camouflage my Airfix Spitfires. There we go. And this is an opportunity now, so any of the areas that didn't get a dry brush for one reason or another now get a little bit of glue. I normally go between the figure's legs. Around there. Probably covering not quite half the base. Sorry, there we are. Gotta keep checking the screen. Around the front there, call that quits, and then into the base, quick shake off, put it to one side, and this one, where are we? There, aren't we? With your marker. I said in the previous segment, just make sure the paint's dry, especially around the edges, because you don't want anything sticking to that. Before the paint dried, I just quickly went over the boots or the figures to give them a tidy up. Right, I think that should do it. There. So that's that phase finished, and that's the figures there. Hopefully they've dried, the first few have dried off enough. What I'll do now is put some tufts on. So box goes there. Let's do this one. I'll do two, shall we? Tap the excess off, and what I do, I've got a soft brush. And tidy those up. Okay. So it's back to a bit of plastic. Now with a pair of tweezers, we'll look through the tuft pile. Just move that out of the way, get myself organised. And I've just picked a few out of my box. There. Don't put too many flowers on, maybe one, maybe two bases, otherwise it just looks a bit overwhelming. I'll start off with that darker colour first. I've got some lighter colour greens there, don't need that one. So we're going to concentrate on the larger of the tufts first of all, and again we'll work from the inside out. And these will go, I don't like that block there. Check the other one over. Looks okay. There. Quick dab on the base. Okay. One. How many bases I've got? I've got 16 bases. We'll start off with one on each one. I'll normally do the whole unit at once. So there'll be two, and I might be able to do one more on this one. So it's one in the middle there. Right. Oh. What's that? Yeah. These are from. These are quite good. Recommend these. That's a bit too bright, that one. So we'll get rid of those ones. And go one of these on each one, I think. Looks a bit flat, that one. Let's use that summer in the centre of another one. One more of those. And this one. Nice big gap at the back there. That's that. We'll go to, let's go to a smaller one, I think. Next up are some 2mm tufts. If I can get a box open, get rid of those. I'm working around a tablet at the moment, and it's quite awkward. So, you go away. Let's move that back a bit. And so what I'm doing, just the shorter ones at the front, longer at the back. Some 10 or 12 mil tufts are always quite good. I just haven't got any of those in stock at the moment. Right, get in there. So the phase of basing, my basing went from cardboard, painted green, cut up beer mats, painted green, then beer mats with polyfiller, household filler on the top, painted green, dry brushed yellow. Then from, I think I saw an article in Wargames Illustrated, one of the early ones, might have been Dave Andrews, who's a great painter, and he had the chocolate brown idea, and since then it takes it all to a different level. Need something at the back here. What should we put there? Let's put another big boy, the dark ones. Not too bad. Then just down here, I think. Now what have I got for there? I sometimes struggle with. Bear with me. I sometimes struggle with tufts. I get them in the post and they're all crushed and absolutely no good to anybody. These are quite good. These little bits. I use these quite a lot, and they just came in a bag like that. The bright green's a bit bright, but the dark ones are okay. I'll just do. Pop that there. Come on, you. Pop that there. Then finish off with a 2mm job. Well, I've put somewhere. Where did I put that? 2mm. Got these ones in a different colour. Just go in that colour, just line it a little bit. There, so I think I'll call that one quits. Maybe. So what I'll do, I'll finish off the rest of these now, then hopefully that'll be the unit completed. Right, so I think that's those done. So it's 2 units of dismounted cavalry by Perry Miniatures, and this is how we finish the basing. Right, let's see if we can get some light on the subject. There you go. Takes a bit of time. But once you get the hang of it, and you can fairly get through at quite a pace. It's as I say, it's just finding a method that you're comfortable with. See, I do think that bit of green there is a bit too bright, so I'll have to do something about that. But it's that faces, flags and bases, and if you concentrate on that, it takes the eye away from the, say, the dry brush. This is where I drop this one. I'll touch him up in a painting sense. It takes away from the dry brushing I've used on these figures, on the uniforms. And at the back, I'll just show the command base on this one. There you go. So now I've got the task of trying to get all these videos back to back. Hopefully I can do that. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and basing is up to the individual. You can paint your bases green and they perform just as well on the table. There's various types of easy basing material out there. This is personal choice. It's not hard, and hopefully it gives a good, it's easy on the eye. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.